So we're talking about balancing our emotions in an unbalanced world. And this is one of my favorite topics because this has really helped me in my life. I would have been described a few years ago as being quite melancholic, maybe looking on the dark side, being a bit pessimistic. And then when I learned about how to balance my emotions, it's really changed the way that I deal with my emotions, that I respond to what's happening around me. And I'm actually, I think, a different personality now. And I enjoy life so much more. And I get less stressed because I've learned how to do this. So I tried it out and it worked for me. And maybe something of what I share today will also work for you. So if we start at the beginning, let's think about Paul. So if we look at Paul in Philippians, he's in jail, he's awaiting execution. He doesn't know what day he will wake up and be fed to the lions, have his head chopped off, be burned at the stake, or whatever way he might die. And so that's not a great place to be, really, is it? In jail, waiting execution, when you actually haven't done anything wrong. And yet his letter to the friends in Philippi was completely full of joy. And if you read it, there is so much in there that just bubbles out of him, even though he's in this difficult place. So what are his secrets? And actually in Philippians 4, he shares those secrets. And it's amazing what he shares, because these days, the things that he did are now being shown by research to help us right here and now, where we are in the 21st century. So if you go through Philippians 4, we haven't got time to unpack it completely. Here are some pointers that Paul shares with his friends about how he's managing to stay so joyful in this difficult circumstances. Well, he praises God, and there's always something you can praise God for, because we know he always loves us, and that's totally praiseworthy. He says, pray and give all your worries to God, because he can take care of them so much better than we can. Be thankful in all circumstances, even if you're stuck in a jail and life is miserable. Peace, experience God's peace through the wonder of nature, or whichever way that you experience his peace. Kindness, be kind and gentle with everyone. And focus, think about good, healthy, and positive things. And these are Paul's secrets, some of them in this difficult situation. We also need to think about what emotions are. As a family therapist, we think of emotions as invitations to connect. When I feel something, it's an invitation for someone to respond to that, to share my joy, to comfort my sadness, to help me manage my anger or my frustration. And our emotions are just natural responses to living in a world that has chaos and pain, as well as beauty, love, and joy. And they are informational signals from our body to help us respond appropriately to the things and people around us. And a lot of my ideas that I'll share today are from a book called Positivity by Barbara Fredrickson, who used her research to study psychology and what goes well in our mind rather than what goes wrong. And these are the principles that she learned through her research. So I'll be talking about negative emotions and positive emotions. And negative emotions are not bad emotions. They're just the ones that drain us and drain all the energy out of us. And positive ones are those that fill us up and help us to flourish. And our emotions, as we experience this world, are not in themselves good or bad. And we must never shame anyone for their emotions, because that just piles more negative emotion onto negative emotion. But whatever we are experiencing, we can also then choose to focus on something. Even in the midst of challenges and difficulties, we can focus our minds on the things that Paul focused on and help us to rebalance ourselves, even in difficult circumstances. So if you imagine life has its ups and downs, like the waves on an ocean, and we're like a boat on the ocean. And if we have lots of negative emotions in the boat, it's going to pull the boat down into the water. It's going to make it sink. It's going to make the water come over the side. It's not going to be such a great ride. I know this because I used to sail with my dad, and so I used to enjoy experiences like this with him on the water. Positive emotions are like the wind in the sails, which help the boat to have a smooth and enjoyable ride over the waves. It whisks you up and takes you along and brings a spray in your face and makes sailing a positive experience. And why are positive emotions so important? Well, they actually broaden our minds. They help us to learn, to think, to see things differently. They help us to recover from stress. They build our resilience and strengthen us to face challenges. And positive emotions help us to be loving and lovable people. And The title says, how do we balance our emotions in an unbalanced world? And the emotional balance part is important because we're never going to feel 100% joyful. That's not realistic in a world like ours. And when I was studying about emotional balance, I discovered that most of us have a 2-to-1 ratio of positive to negative emotions. And when I heard that, I thought, well, that's not bad to feel happy twice as much as you feel sad, kind of thing. But actually, the research shows that the baseline for good emotional health is a ratio of 3-to-1 positive to negative emotions. That's how often and to what intensity did you experience emotions in the last day. And if you go to positivityratio.com, you can actually find something there where you can assess the balance of your emotions in a day and then choose what to do with that score. So here are the top most common negative emotions, and we'll unpack them. So I'm not going to read them out just now. And I'll be sharing a handout. So if you want more information on these, you can come back and look at them. So I'm just going to describe the emotion and give it a definition. But underneath, there are some tips for perhaps helping yourself or other people with those negative emotional experiences, which you can read for yourself. So anger is feeling displeasure, hostility, or antagonism towards someone or something. And we can help people by listening and calmly and showing we want to understand and helping them to find solutions. Contempt is actually a really nasty emotion. It's very destructive to the body when we experience contempt. And that's when we feel disrespectful to others or superior to them in some way. And it's really not healthy for us. So we need to look up at others and honor them above ourselves, as Paul says, rather than looking down on them with contempt. Then there's disgust. That's being revolted by something or someone that sounds, feels, looks, smells, or tastes disgusting and horrible. And it helps to keep us safe from eating things that would be really bad for us and to keep us away from dangerous situations. Embarrassment is a feeling of shame when something you did wrong or badly is made public and like everybody knows about it. And teenagers and young people on social media have often experienced this embarrassment when they've just done something or someone snapped a photo at the wrong time and shared it and brought them embarrassment publicly. And that is so painful. So we must really guard against embarrassing other people. Then there's fear, a feeling of anxiety about a real, possible, or probable situation that you feel unable to handle well. And our fears are often based on traumatic past experiences. I have a bizarre, irrational fear of escalators at times. Sometimes I can get on an escalator and it's fine. Other times I have to use a lift or walk a long way to the next tube station or something. And this has come from an experience I had in my past, and sometimes it's fine and sometimes it's not. My husband has learned to deal with me when I meet an escalator that I can't face. And perfect love casts out fear. It helps us to feel safe again in an unsafe situation. But fear also keeps us safe from falling over the edges of cliffs or doing stupid things. So frustration is that sense of irritation when you really want to reach your goals and something gets in your way, or someone is critical of you when you're really trying to do your best. And we need to find ways to manage the situation and calm down and look for other solutions as well. So guilt is when you think you've done something wrong or hurt someone and you feel so bad about it. And the quicker you can put that right, the better it is for your brain and for the other person. When the Bible says, resolve your issues before bedtime, we now know from the research that if you sleep on the guilt or the distress of a broken relationship, it embeds it in the brain somehow more, and we're more likely to be anxious and depressed. So sadness is a sense of loss, feeling disadvantaged, helpless, alone, or misunderstood. And in the Bible, comfort is what we need when we feel sad, someone to come alongside us and comfort us deeply. Then there's shame, and shame is put on us by other people. It's not a guilt for something we've done, it's an attitude other people have to us that put us down, make us feel inadequate or guilty for things we haven't done wrong. And we need to lift people up, not shame them, and bless them as Jesus did. Then there's stress, feeling that you're being asked to do more than you can manage. And maybe if you don't work hard enough, you'll be seen as a failure and everything will just fall to pieces. So we need to learn how to manage our stress and our schedules, etc. But the good news is that we don't just experience these negative emotions in this crazy world. There's also plenty of healthy, happy emotions that God has provided for us to experience that help us to put the wind in our sails and carry us over those rough waves and make life joyful and to experience the abundant life that Jesus came to share with us. So what are the top 10 positive emotions that we can experience in our life that really help us to rebalance and to flourish? Because we now know the more of these that we experience, or the children or the young people or whoever around us, the more positive emotions we experience, the more we will flourish mentally, emotionally, relationally, spiritually, physically. And so it's really good stuff. These positive emotions, they're not just the icing on the cake. They are what makes life worth living and experiencing. And we can choose to experience these. And this is what I learned. But even if I've had a rough day, I can choose to experience some of these positive emotions. Whatever I'm feeling in my head, in my body, whatever's gone on, I can then engage with something else that will help to rebalance me, help to dispel some of those difficult, heavy, negative emotions. So while I'm going home on the bus, I might look at something funny on my phone or say thank you to God for something. And those things can help to rebalance me. And I'll share some of these in this next section. So fun, amusement, and laughter is an obvious thing that helps to rebalance us. And we have a good laugh and we watch a funny movie, a funny YouTube clip, or we used to gather around the table as a family in the evening and just share the funniest thing that happened in the day or the funniest joke we heard and laugh together. And that is so positive. Just laughing together is a huge blessing. And these are some ways that we can do that. Like tell someone something funny that happened, watch a funny movie, tell each other what makes you laugh the most, and share cartoons and things together. Then there is awe and wonder, and I love this one. It's a sense of wonder about something beautiful in nature or in another person. How many are your works, Lord? In wisdom you made them all. The earth is full of your creatures. There is so much to feel awe for. So we need to slow down and really look at the wonders of nature around us. Look at the stars in the sky, for the details in trees and flowers and grass that we've never noticed before. Even be amazed at our own hands because they're incredibly and wonderfully made, and you have opposable thumbs, and that's pretty cool. So just look at the things around you with different eyes. Slow down, pause, experience that wonder. And when I'm going home on the bus, I look for a beautiful tree, or I look at the clouds and the sunrise or the sunset. I look for the bluebells in the woods, and that really helps to calm me down and give me wonderful feelings of awe in my body. Then there's gratitude, appreciation of someone or something who makes our life better, more comfortable, or more enjoyable. And Paul says something quite challenging: give thanks in all circumstances, even in a smelly jail when you're awaiting death. How do we do that? We can just look and thank God for so many things in every moment. And you can thank God for 30 things before you get out of bed in the morning. One psychologist says that's the best way to start the day. Or you can just thank God for one thing after another as you pass it on the road, or for every letter of the alphabet, whatever structure you have to help you focus on gratitude for a while. We know that when we thank other people, they feel happy and we feel happy too. So thanking others is a good way to up the happiness in our life. So start a gratitude diary. Do something that helps you to engage with gratitude every single day. We all need hope too, the belief that things can and will change and improve. And that's a really important aspect of our life as Christians, to have hope. And that can help to rebalance us, that sincere belief that there's not just this world, there is something beyond this that is so much better. So we always need to have something to look forward to. We need to make Sabbaths a delight, because that's an every week opportunity of something to look forward to, a special day with special treats. We need to have fun times and celebrations. Look for people who are discouraged and lonely and find ways to give them hope by saying, let's go out for lunch next week. Let's go for a walk somewhere together next Sunday. So they have something to look forward to as well. Then inspiration is so good for us. I don't know about you, but when you have moments of inspiration, when you're reading the Bible and suddenly something, you see it in a whole different way and you go, wow, that's incredible. So inspiration is being inspired by God, by your spiritual insights, or even by another person when you recognize excellence in the way that they live and work. And so when we focus on things that are true, noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable, it really helps to focus our brains on positive things and fill us again with positive emotions and joy and wonder. So think of people who have inspired you. Think about how you inspire other people and focus on those inspiration. Look for it around you. We also need a good hobby. So this is kind of a strange emotion, interest, or maybe it can be called flow, but we need a hobby that will absorb all our attention for a while. Because when we have those things that we do that take our mind off everything else, whether it's running, playing music, watching a movie, being creative, that is so good for us. It gives us time to calm down, to enter a different space, to totally focus on something else than the negative things in our life, and have a moments of peace and joy and just focus there. So joy is a feeling of happy delight and freedom. And Paul says, rejoice in the Lord always. And I say it again, rejoice, because as I said before, there is so much to be joyful about God, even when we're in difficult circumstances. But there are other causes for joy around us, and we need to open our eyes and look for joy wherever we see it, and rejoice with those who rejoice, celebrate with people who are happy. I wonder what one of your happiest moments was in the last week. What made it so happy? What do you do that brings joy to others? And try this, try listing 100 things that bring you joy, because psychologists are now saying this is a really good antidote to depression. 100 things that bring you joy. Maybe it's flavors, sounds, people, experiences, and then do them. Don't just write them on the list. Every day, do one thing on your joy list and see the difference it makes to your life. Share it with someone else, share the joy. We also need to know that what we do is valued by others and have satisfaction in a job well done. That is a really good sense of positive pride in our lives when we know that we do something well and it's appreciated, when we work at it with all our heart for God and not just for men. At the end of each day, no matter what that day has brought, try this. List 3 things that you did well. What went well, WWW, you can all remember that now. It's so good to look at what you did well each day, because quite often, well, before I learned how to balance my emotions better, I would get into bed at the end of the day and I'll probably go through a list of what didn't go well and go to sleep feeling distressed, anxious, grumpy, miserable, whatever. But how much better to think of what did go well. Focus on those things, because probably you did things well 95% of the time. And at bedtime, you just focus on the 5% that were actually amazing learning opportunities. So reframe mistakes or things that go wrong as incredible learning opportunities. I've seen God use those moments in ways I could never have imagined. And then pass on that sense of purpose to others. Show you value and appreciate the people around you when they help you or when they do a good job, so that we pass on that sense of purpose and value to those around us. We need serenity in this crazy busy world where everything is happening so fast. We need places where we can pause and be still and experience calm and contentment. It's really good for us to have times in the day when we can just pause, read the Bible, pray, or just sit on a bench and look at the trees and the flowers, listen to the birds song. It's quite good to try bubble breathing. I find this really helpful. If you imagine that you're blowing bubbles and take a deep breath, and you can try it right now. Take a deep breath in and then pretend you're blowing bubbles. Blow it out slowly. Imagine you're blowing the biggest bubble possible and then watch it float away. If you do that 2 or 3 times, it calms you. I usually do it before I'm going to preach or do something that I find a bit nerve-wracking, and it helps to calm me down really quickly. And it's a natural way that our body can calm us. And know what else will calm you? Drinking cool water, smelling lavender, soothing music, a Bible verse, etc. And then there's love, which is a blend of all these other positive emotions experienced in warm, close, safe, and caring relationships. So it's doing all these lovely things, laughing with your friends, sharing hope with your friends, sharing wonder moments together. And that creates a special aspect, dimension of love. And we love because God first loved us. He pours that love into our heart. And then we can pour it out in being kind to those around us, being kind is really good for our emotional well-being. Some psychologists are saying now that being kind to others is more effective than drugs or counseling when we're feeling depressed and down, in many cases. So do kind things as often as you can. You know, it's a matter of perspective. As Paul did, we could focus on the dark and gloomy areas of life, like that prison cell around him, but he chose to take a step back. That dark piece on the slide before was the very center of this pathway that looks dark and gloomy there. Paul took a step back. He looked at the bigger picture. He knew what his life was about. He knew where he was going with God. And even though things were difficult, he could take a step back and notice the beauty, light, and joy and wonder and love all around him. So what I encourage people to do is to make a list of things that nurture your positive emotions, simple things that you can do right where you are, any time of the day. It's not complicated. Think about the things that bring you joy, that make you laugh, that help you feel peaceful. And maybe if you have some things that you can collect that will help you experience those, put them in a basket by your armchair. So when you sit down at the end of a crazy day, you can just dip in there and pull something out to rebalance your emotions. So we can, as Paul did, make happy and healthy choices, find simple ways to fill our lives with as many positive emotions as possible, things that nurture our healthy emotions and the healthy emotions of those around us. So laugh together, share wonder, be kind, be playful, be inspired, focus on the positive things that are happening around, and look where God is at work and believe the best, because when we do that, even in an unbalanced world, we can find balance, we can find a place to experience healthy emotions. So there was a bit of a lightning tour. I normally take about an hour to do this presentation. And when I can, I love to have activities people can do afterwards, but that's not possible here. But I want you to reflect on what you've just learned. What new ideas interested you the most? What will you do this week to make sure that you experience more positive emotions? And how will they help you to live the abundant life that Jesus wants us to have? I want you to think about those things. And I'm just going to show you a video now to just remind you before we leave of the importance of experiencing joy. So life is a journey. Enjoy the ride and choose what you do today so you can experience some of these wonderful positive emotions that God has provided for us to help us rebalance in an unbalanced world. Thank you.